This episode of the Blerd Mob contains explicit language. While we want everyone to enjoy the show, sometimes we may say things that are not appropriate for all ages. So, in other words, Mom, Dad, Granny, we cussing. Discretion is advised.
King G, Grow Site, ENT. Rock with it, rock with it, rock with it, rock with it. Let me pop my shit. Let me pop my shit. Hands up.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Blerd Mob. I am your host, Phthp. If you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other streaming service, make sure you hit that follow button so you can get updates from the mob. Today, we're going to be talking about a multitude of topics. We're going to be doing a pre-review for Eternals, and then we have some current events and nerd culture that we're going to be talking about. So joining the mob today, we got ourselves a full house. The boys are back. Ace and Mcmillian from Gurren Otaku Council. Ryun is also back in the building. And we have my boy Ralph joining the mob for the first time. So what's up, everybody?
What's good?
What's good?
Yo.
What is
that boy Ralph got his first debut? He on the mob?
A little
He
nervous.
on the mob.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Ralph.
Good to see you.
So how I want to do this, guys, we're going to start with the pre-rating or pre-review for the Eternals. Then I have 4 current events in nerd culture that to talk about. Our time limit is an hour 30, so we'll fit as many of those topics as we can in the hour 30 time span. If we end up not getting to any, I will, make something on the side so we can make sure that these topics get talked about. So let's start with the Eternals pre-movie rating. So the Eternals drops Friday, November 5th, 2021. We've been seeing a lot of trailers, a lot of content has been dropping regarding it. Also, if you listen to episode 1, me, Ace, and Mcmillian talked about the Eternals. We have a lot of questions of like where have they been, how do they fit into the MCU for Phase 4. So, because the Eternals are characters that we haven't seen in any of the previous phases, I think this is pretty interesting just to get what we think is going to go down or what we feel like the movie is going to deliver. So, my rating out of 10, I'm going to go 7 for it, based on my curiosity alone of where have they been, why didn't they fight against Thanos, why should we learn about these characters? Like, this is a completely new set of characters. Like, it's not like one person. Like, this is not us learning about Shang-Chi and like this one person in his whole universe. This is like 7 people who have been here since like the beginning of time. So, and to me, it feels like a different flavor of MCU movies because all of the trailers that we get for Marvel movies are action-packed and they're in your face and they're colorful. And this one seems a bit more subtle and ancient. So I'm curious to see where they go with it. So I'm going to go 7. Only because, I don't know, the Marvel movies, coming off the Marvel movies we've seen in the past, I've always give them a rating over 5. But the fact that I don't know where they're going to go with this storyline and how it fits in with everything else, I'm going to just give it that nice safe 7. So, what about everybody else?
Okay. I'll let somebody else go first.
I was going to say the one thing that she did say that I have to agree with is the fact that it is Marvel. It's safe to rate any Marvel project relatively high because they do deliver a consistent quality when it comes to their movies and series and everything else. However, I gotta be honest, the Eternals has not really grabbed me, even from the trailers. Like, if anything, the one thing that really grabbed me was the fact that one of my favorite actresses is in it, and that is Angelina Jolie. Love her to death. But aside from that, I do got some questions like, okay, y'all are these immortal beings. Y'all have been here for thousands of years. It's like, now y'all are relevant. We got
Mm-hmm.
Thor coming down from Valhalla. I can't remember. They don't call it Valhalla, do they, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
No.
It's
Well,
in
there is a
Asgard.
Valhalla, but that's not where they're coming
Yeah.
from.
You got one of the gods coming down here. You got Thanos, world conquering ass, coming down here, and y'all immortal beings are just out of the blue. Hey, now we're here. The biggest threat to the world is gone, but now we're here. It's almost like, are y'all just trying to make some money? Is this something that we
They doing
should
it
be
for the
excited
clout.
for? Yeah, like what's the it hasn't grabbed my attention. It's not something that pre-existed. It'll be different if this was like an of IP that most people are familiar with, like say X-Men or something. Like all of a sudden we got mutants now. I don't know. It hasn't grabbed me, but I would
Mm-hmm.
say it is safe to give it a 6, high average, 6 to 7. Like just
Mm-hmm.
because it's Marvel, just because I trust them, 6 or 7. I don't think it'll be bad, but it is like, I don't see what it is. I don't know what it is at this point.
Yeah, I
Okay.
feel you.
Okay. I feel you. I feel you.
I guess for my rating, I don't know. I'm somewhere around a 6 or 7, simply because somewhat like Ryan said, from the trailers, I'm not getting real too interested in them as a specific group. More of like what I guess how they fit in now,
Mm-hmm.
because like it was pointed out, they don't interfere with most human scuffles or like battles or stuff like that, even when it came to like the fate of the entire universe. So now you're telling me that there's these deviants around basically, and that they're somewhat more threatening than Thanos.
Hmm.
Like I just
I
I really got to see, I guess, where they tie in, because I mean, like I mentioned in our original video about like the Marvel, our theory for like the multiverse saga, basically, is that in the comics, Thanos was already said to be a deviant, and
right.
unless they bring it up in this movie, and and I feel like they can't even bring that up in the movie now, because then there's gonna be a real question of like, oh, why weren't y'all around for Thanos now?
Yep.
Mhm.
But now, like and from the looks of it, I don't. The only one of them looked threatening from the trailer, and is that the one that was fighting Angelina Jolie, that was basically telling her, "You guys can't win." But other than that, all of them just look like kind of random assortments of monsters. And that didn't really, that doesn't really make it interesting or make it threatening. The only thing that made me be like, okay, that gave me a little bit more interest is everyone here, I'm assuming, has seen Shang-Chi, right? Before I
Mm-hmm.
get to okay. Uh, the final monster in the Battle of Shang-Chi, I felt like that could have possibly been a deviant, based on what we saw from the trailer of the dragon, of like the one little deviant they fought
Yep.
from the trailer. I was like, okay, that makes me slightly more interested in what the goings on are, because the deviants might play into a more central role for villains within like this new phase. But other than that, again, there's nothing that makes me like excited to see how they deal with them. It's more of like, I'm trying to figure out where you guys fit in and how you'll prepare for like how you got the longevity of the of I guess their relevance will be within the Marvel universe moving forward after this movie.
You made a
Based
good
on
point of how they're trying to make the deviants seem like this big, and it could just be that this might not be the big bad of the movie, but that's what they've been showing us. And I like how you brought up, like, you're trying to convince us that these deviants are a bigger challenge than
yeah,
Thanos.
Right.
And,
who had an Infinity Gauntlet. Like,
right.
come on. So I mean, like with all that into regards, the trailers aren't really selling me, I guess, that much on like their, I guess, how long they'll be. I mean, granted, that's what the movie, I guess, is supposed to do. But based on what I've seen in the trailer, I will definitely say like it's piqued my interest, but not enough for me to be like super hype about it. So I gotta based on like the trailers and everything that I've heard about the Eternals and how they might use them within the universe, I kind of go with like a 6 or a 7. So like a 6.5 probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next.
I'll
Alex trying to be
I'll
last. Why you trying to be at last, Ace?
Right.
I'm trying to hear
Ralph
everybody's
is the
opinions.
Ralph is the
It's
new
about to
guy.
be
Let him
Carnage.
go last.
I mean,
Alex.
I'm fine with going
Is
next.
this about Carnage? Is this the same thing with the Carnage thing?
Right.
You know things you're telling us?
I mean,
He finna mess around and say, I give it a 10. I'm very excited. I don't know what
Hey.
y'all talking
that's
about.
why I was trying to wait to the end
Okay.
because Marvel called me, so you
No.
know.
All right.
When we get
Tell us what you
to the
heard.
next segment, we have another op on our hands. We have another op on our hands, but I'm gonna let y'all finish. But somebody
Marvel
else
called
finna
me.
get exposed. We got another op on our
I'm
hands.
done. I'm done. Well, I guess y'all put me out, so I guess I'll go ahead and go next then. So yeah, Marvel called me and they wanted me to let y'all know to get ready. All right. They want me to let y'all know to get ready. For me, as far as my rating, I think I'll go with Portia. I have to give it at least a 7. Maybe, traveling towards the 8 because I did a little research and depending on how Jay said how they actually fit the Eternals into this movie, depending on how they go into it, it could go into an 8 depending on the direction they want to take it. But for me personally, I think that I would have to also agree that the trailers didn't really grab me as much as other Marvel trailers have been doing in the past. I'm not sure what they was trying to necessarily get across with this trailer. But just from doing some small research, I think that the Eternals itself it will be another one of those catalyst movies that we have for this phase, along with the Spider-Man No Way Home that's coming out this year as well. I think that this Eternals movie will have some ramifications leading on into the MCU universe as a whole, due to the fact that we may start seeing Celestials might be brought into the MCU, even though they already been brought. We've seen Celestials before here and there in the MCU. They might actually become more of a bigger factor after this Eternals movie. At least that's what I think. So just based on that, I got to give it at least a high 7. Leading towards 8.
Okay.
So you're rating it high based on anticipation and its impact on the universe per se.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, Ralphie. It's on you, my guy.
Based on what I've gathered about the Eternals, I would have to give it a 7. I would have to agree with Jay, Ryan, pretty much that the previews for it was not very good. It was very bland, and it felt like, oh, here's just the heroes that you'll be introducing. I mean, it fits because it is at the beginning of the MCU, and it is gonna make sense. Okay, we got to introduce these characters. We have to see how they fit in, how they're going to actually connect and make us love those characters, because they're all just new heroes to us in a new world. So it's going to be a big factor and a big role that they're just going to have to throw in to be like, okay, we need you to care about each and every one of these characters as equals. So, and me doing a little bit of research on it, I feel like it's going to be good. They have 2.5 hours to make me love this movie. Yeah, that's an extremely long movie. I feel like everything about it is going to fit in perfectly. The characters itself, I've done a little bit of research, and I feel like that I'm definitely going to love probably Sprite, if anything. Just based on reading up on her character, she is very mischievous and a trickster, and I already know she's gonna be the trouble child of the group, and I'm just gonna love it. But yeah, I don't want to dig in too much, but yeah, I'm gonna just keep it there. I feel like we're gonna dig more into it later. I have some juicy information.
Not juicy information. But I guess coming from Ryan and Mcmillian's point is the trailers haven't been capturing me. Like, my rating is off curiosity alone, but it seems like this is gonna be like a soap opera type MCU movie.
Yeah.
Reading up on the Eternals, like they even have a love triangle between Kit
Black Knight.
Harington,
Mhm.
Black Knight, and who Kit Harington is playing, Icarus, who Richard, I can't remember his last name, but Rob from Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
And Cersei. They have a love triangle going on. There, and then it's this whole thing of that they haven't seen each other in like thousands of years, and now they're meeting up to save the end of the world. So it's all of these moving parts and connections that they have to deal with. It seems like a big soap opera MCU movie, but you're superheroes. Here's the soap opera, but you're superheroes.
Mhm.
So that's why I was saying it's like it feels like a different flavor of MCU. It's not like boom in your face,
Mm-hmm.
big colors, or they have some action scenes, but everything else just seemed like real. We're talking, like not enough throwing hands. So I don't know. I guess my big question is why did Marvel feel the need to give us an Eternals movie? And that's the question that I want to get answered when I go see this movie.
Yeah,
Why did
because
we?
part of well, not to interrupt you, folks, but like part of me even agrees with that because I almost want to say I felt like this maybe would have been better as one of the Disney Plus series, but I'm not 100% sure on. I got to see the movie before I make that final call.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like if you're going to be introducing all these characters and their connections and stuff like that, you might want more time than say 2 hours and 30 minutes to flesh out that. But I mean, we'll have to see, I guess, at the end. But I agree. Why I wonder what's made them want to put this in a movie rather than a series. I guess.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Like, what stopped them from making this a series? Like, what sets this apart from why they made WandaVision a series, or why did they make Loki a series, or the other Disney Plus series we're getting? What drew the line that this had to be a movie and this couldn't be a series?
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a good evaluation.
I'm telling you, it's the ramifications that this movie gonna have.
I mean, I would agree. I would have agreed with that if it wasn't for Loki.
I mean, okay,
because Loki's ramifications affect everything, and they put that in the series. So
that it does. I can't disagree with that. But at the same time, we just like I was saying earlier, we haven't really seen the Celestials
is
much at all.
That check. You gotta keep up for appearances.
Look,
it's okay.
I need y'all to hit up your boys, your Marvel and your who we joked with last time. Was it Mcmillian was getting paid from Paramount Plus?
Mhm.
I need y'all to reach out to y'all people and let them know I want to be on the payroll.
Portia, Alice got 2 sponsorships, Marvel and Sony.
That's what I'm saying. Like, give me one. Put me in.
I gotta, I'll see what I do. I'll reach out to my people.
All right. But the last thing I want to bring up, which is pretty interesting, and it's the rating that Rotten Tomatoes gave it. And I have a mixed
Oh, they already rated it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Rotten Tomatoes did, yep.
I have a mixed feeling with Rotten Tomatoes. So Rotten Tomatoes, I don't remember the first rating that they gave it, but in the past couple days, the rating for this movie has dropped. And right now it's at a 60%.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that can be one or two things. The reason why I cannot fully trust Rotten Tomatoes is because of what they did with Birds of Prey. When they first rated Birds of Prey had a low rating. Come back a couple days later, they boosted Birds of Prey from whatever low rating they had all the way to like a 80 or a 90. And if you've seen Birds of Prey, that movie did not deserve a 90%. It didn't. And the fact that 2 days later, you're raising up the percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the same thing. They rated it something the first time, and a couple days later, now they're dropping the score. So I feel like If you want to trust Rotten Tomatoes, sure. But I feel like because they're doing this is one of those movies where you just have to decide for yourself at this point. So
yeah. Rotten Tomatoes do be on some stuff sometimes, so I would agree.
I mean,
What?
critics. All I was gonna say is like critic ratings you got to be careful with because usually like critics kind of sometimes they grade it just for like performance and not like the aspect of if the movie was enjoyable.
But
so
I guess my thing
you got to
is
be careful with that.
I agree with you. You have to be careful. And my thing is that if you're gonna be a critic and when you rate it the first time, that's it. Because what is your impression? What is your initial impression of this movie? And if you're going to be a critic, I understand there's a lot of stuff that you have to process and you have to consider during that time. But I feel like once you put that rating out there, that's it. That's the rating. You can't keep going up and down with the numbers because then it's like, now at this point, it's like, can we really trust you as a movie critic? Can we really trust you to rate this movie? It's like you're not credible at this point.
Has Rotten Tomatoes ever like released the criteria by which they rate movies? Because
it's Rotten Tomatoes has their own if I'm remembering correctly, Rotten Tomatoes has their own like internal reviewers, and then they also bring in other like movie critics' opinion, and then that's how they come up with their scores.
Yeah,
that's why you have like an audience score and then a critic score. Like
right.
they'll have critics I think that are either hired by them, and then they'll also take like other like well-known movie critics, and then like put their like stuff together in their ratings, and they'll come up with their the Rotten score, the first score, and then when the movie finally comes out, audiences can go. The people who've seen the movie are free to go and then like chat about it and rate it, and then that's why audience score and critic score can be completely different.
Yeah, I've seen that a few times. Cause like the reason I ask is because for movies like this, it's one thing if you're rating a movie and you're just going off of cinematography, plot, and stuff of that nature. But for example, a Marvel fan, one extra rating that someone like us may put into there is how does it tie into the universe? How is it true to lore? Um, does it actually mesh well with the rest of the MCU? Because some people may rate a movie and just say, as a movie standalone, how good is it? But Marvel has a whole library. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How does this movie compare to the rest of Marvel and tie into the universe? So that's why I'm wondering, like, for a movie like this, I don't really think Rotten Tomatoes would probably be the best critic to go to, unless they do base it off of that. I don't know. I'm speaking from ignorance.
I mean, I guess the Rotten Tomatoes is because when you do look up a movie on Google, the first thing you see is the Rotten Tomatoes score.
right.
So it has a lot of impact on
It
people's
does.
views on movies. Like you can do some deeper dive if you want to, if you want a true opinion, but with that being the first thing that you see when you look up any movie, it has a lot of impact. And the fact that they keep changing the scores, I just don't feel like, it makes them credible. And
So did they? I'm sorry. Did they? You mentioned they changed the scores. Did they change it from a high score to what it is now, or was it like
it's
did they
been
raise it
dropping.
up?
Yeah, it's
It's
been
been
dropping.
dropping.
It's been dropping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last time I checked, it's at 60%.
That can be a good thing for audiences or a bad thing because a lot of times, I think with comic book movies, audiences and critics tend to differ quite a lot. But there are those rare cases, such as like Logan, where that matched up, like where critics gave it a high review and audiences gave it a high review. So,
but I want to touch on.
Gotta see how it works.
Ryan made a good point about the criteria that they rate these movies on, especially with superhero movies, because how many of the critics know the lore of the movie that they're going to watch?
I imagine very few.
And I agree with you. I agree that very few of these critics that are going to watch these superhero movies may not know enough of the backstory. And they may, and that's why I'm saying, like, you should rate it off of experience alone. And it goes into Ryan saying, like, what is the criteria? And what is the criteria that you keep changing the score of the movie? So,
correct.
They should definitely make
the only
that
reason,
public.
yeah, the only reason I brought up the Rotten Tomato score because Eternals, the score that they have now is the lowest score that any Marvel movie has gotten.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember that.
Okay,
You-
that's interesting.
So,
Do
but
we
this
know
could
the
be a good
second
thing or a
lowest?
bad thing. I
Do
don't
we know
the
who was the
second
lowest before Eternals?
You can probably look it
Yeah.
up.
You could probably look it up, but I don't know offhand. But
That's interesting.
yeah, that's the reason why I want to bring it up, because it is interesting, and it could just be I don't know. Maybe it goes back into that this is a different flavor of Marvel. Maybe they went in expecting big Iron Man and Captain America type movie, and then they got something else, and
Yeah.
it threw them off.
Yeah.
The previously low-rated film by Marvel was Thor: Dark World, which was sitting at 66%.
Okay. Well, that's acceptable.
That's kind of fair.
That makes Ace looked at it. That makes sense.
Rotten Tomatoes might be credible.
That was that, or the Hulk movie, or one of the Hulk movies was my guess. But yeah,
it was like, all right. You would have said anything other than that, I'm like, I
wouldn't
know about that one.
Yeah.
But you pulled that one, I was like, okay, all right.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
we'll
right,
see.
I understand.
We'll definitely see. So November 5th.
Yeah, they might be on to something.
I guess. Well, speaking of that, when is the last time Marvel had a miss? I guess since Thor: Dark World.
I don't think they have.
Yeah.
I think all of the movies that came. I think all of the movies that came after Dark World have been pretty good, especially when they rebranded Thor.
Yeah.
I think if they would have continued with the path that they were doing with Thor after Dark World, I'm pretty sure they would have had more. But because they rebranded him.
Trying to think of.
And we also got to say, sorry, Jade, that a Marvel miss is not the same as a generalized movie miss. A miss from Marvel is still going to garner a profit, and people are still going to really love it.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
No, that's
I
true.
mean, but that's with any movie though, because Venom sold.
Venom did sell well. Venom did sell well.
We're not gonna start this back up though. We not.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
She gonna start whatever she want on her channel.
Period. But listen, the
Y'all
movies
not finna jump me again.
The movies are going to sell because they're Marvel, because of the name. They are going to sell, but just because they sell does not mean they're going to be enjoyable. So,
100%.
I would throw the profit thing out, honestly. Because Thor: Dark World, honestly, probably sold. I didn't go to the theaters to watch it, but it probably sold.
Did.
But it wasn't
made
good.
all its movie back, but yeah, all the money back, but
they probably broke even because I mean, like she mentioned, it's Marvel, so
and it's Thor, and you guys know how trailers do. Trailers put what they want to put in. It's like and then you go watch the movie, and it's like
rated number one movie in the world by this one critic
saw,
ever.
Like what you saw in the trailer is like the first 15 minutes of the movie.
And that's why I feel like they pulling the okie doke on us with like they giving us this bland trailer, but then we get here like, okay, so we see what's actually going on now.
Yeah.
So maybe they got some stuff off their sleeve. Like Ryan said, it's a 2.5 hour movie. The trailers that we've seen could be like the first 20-30 minutes.
Yeah. Big things coming. That's all I gotta say.
We gonna see.
I'm trusting Angelina. I'm trusting
Catch us episode 6. Catch us episode 6. We're gonna do a full movie review of the Eternals. We're going to see if the actual movie matched out with our ratings, and maybe we'll even talk about if it deserved the 60% from Rotten Tomatoes. We'll see if they were on the money or not. But we're gonna move over into the current event section. I just want to put this out here that this episode was originally supposed to be like an Ask the Mob type episode, but unfortunately, we didn't get any questions. Womp womp. So had to move on to Plan B, which I found some current events in nerd culture. I found 4. We're gonna get through as many as we can, because I don't want to go over like an hour 30. But these are some pretty interesting topics. So we'll see how many we can get through. So the first thing I want to talk about is the MCU movie delay. So a couple weeks ago, Disney announced that it was pushing back a few, well, several, I won't say a few, several of its Marvel movies. It's due to some production things, and obvious if because all of the movies are interconnected. We've seen this. When one gets pushed back, everything turns into a domino effect. So Doctor Strange got moved from March 2022 to May 2022. Thor Love and Thunder got pushed to July 2022. Wakanda Forever got moved to November 2022. And the Marvels and Ant-Man Quantumanium got moved to 2023. The only movie that did not get moved was Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 still has its original release date. Also, 2 untitled Marvel movies got removed from the schedule. And the other thing is, we have heard nothing about if this is going to affect any of the Disney Plus shows as well. So, a couple things that I want to discuss based on this pushback is that this pushback has made it officially DC versus Marvel. So, the Batman got off free. But this was going to be crazy because the Batman and Doctor Strange 2 originally were going to release 2 days apart. The Batman was going to drop on March 4th. Doctor Strange was going to drop on March 6th. So Batman got off free. But Black Adam and Thor Love and Thunder both released in July 2022. And Wakanda Forever and The Flash both released in November 2022.
Oh, the Flash is losing. Ooh, they need to go on and say it.
So it's gonna be a
They
battle.
better hope they release first.
For real. Well, I think the Flash does release first. I think.
Okay.
That's gonna be their only sales. I'm sorry to hear that.
It's about to be a battle of the universe, and it's really going to put pressure on DC of can they make a comeback with their live action movies.
That's gonna be tough.
I still need to see if DC is connecting the universe.
That too.
That part.
They've changed so much. So
they have. So I don't know. This is going to be crazy for people who are both DC and Marvel fans. And it's going to make or break one. And I'm going to have to agree with Ryan that November, it's a wrap.
You know how much
it's a wrap for the Flash.
You know how much anticipation the Black Panther movie got for it? Come on now.
If y'all thought we acted up with the first Black Panther movie, y'all not ready to see us act up at Black Panther 2.
You gonna see it. Look,
R.I.P. Chadwick, he gone too. So we coming out in droves, boy.
Hey,
we watching
you
Black
gonna go
Panther
to the movies and you gonna
GP.
see 30 people dressed up as Black Panther. You're gonna catch that one guy dressed up as Flash.
He's going to get booed.
You're going to catch that one guy dressed up as the Flash.
You came to the wrong theater.
Look, jazz music stops.
How they be doing the music like, who's that guy?
The other thing I wanted to discuss is that is this going to remove the pressure off the Marvel movies? And the reason I wanted to bring this up, I was talking to one of my coworkers the other day, and his thing about the Marvel movies is that they've been back to back. And I really had to think about it. We have, in a 5-month span, we are about to get 4 Marvel movies. As in the past, Marvel was releasing 2 to 3 movies a year.
Yeah.
So maybe this would relieve the pressure of people who don't enjoy going to the movies every month to see a Marvel movie. Maybe this spacing out may, alleviate some of the pressure. But like me, I don't care. I'm gonna go regardless. You can release a Marvel movie every day of the week. I'm gonna go. But I know for some people that they may be Marvel fans, or they may have people who are Marvel fans, and I don't know. I think I kind of agree that these Black Widow and Shang-Chi are different, but they took a month off in October. We're about to get Eternals in November, and then they're going to turn around and release Spider-Man in December. So you're getting all of these, and then at the same time, they were promoting all the movies at the same time. We were getting Black Widow trailers and Spider-Man trailers and Eternal trailers and Shang-Chi trailers all at the same time. And none of them really had like a specific block for their promotion and release. And then at the same time, they're promoting these Disney Plus shows as well. So it's really like a back-to-back Marvel fest. So maybe
you make an interesting point because I never thought about that. Like Marvel became the thing that made people go to the movies literally every 3 weeks to a month. And it hasn't always been like that. Like usually you probably got like 4 movies in a year that you just really want to see. Not even like that's including Marvel and everything else. And now it's like, yeah, I'm going to the movies every month because a new Marvel movie just came out. It almost doesn't
I
give you
don't know if
time to
they're just trying to
breathe.
catch up because of the pandemic. Because I know
Maybe.
Black Widow
It
got
could be
pushed back because of the
reason.
pandemic. So maybe they're just trying to get in all of these movies because now people are going back to the movies.
Yeah.
Now they just want to get their revenue back. It could be that.
Could be. I mean, me personally, I was in Marvel heaven. I mean, I didn't mind them.
Hey, that is what I'm saying.
Month. So I was chilling. But I can, see where in some instances it would be kind of a fatigue for, some people going back to the movies every month and stuff like that. But, for me, I like as PJ said, I mean, I'm chilling. I'm good.
Like for real, I will buy a ticket for every day. Where you going? The movies? Did you go to the movies yesterday? Or I'm going again.
Look, this time I'm getting XD. I'm going again.
Right. IMAX, XD. I might go to the regular theater this time. Recliner seats, regular seats. I might get an icy. I might get a drink. I might get some nachos. I might get some,
AMC one day, Cinemark the next.
Right.
Chilling.
Another thing, I think we may fail to mention is we don't want to sacrifice that quantity over quality either, with having 4 movies back to back in a 5-month span, kind of thing.
And I think they might have had to do with the pushback.
Yeah.
Because there are still some movies that are in production. So instead of trying to rush the movie, they
give
just
them more time.
They took the safe way out and just pushed the movies back.
Right.
I agree. I agree because
that's
like
a
we
good
mentioned
point,
earlier, they have that was a good point. But it just goes back to the point we mentioned earlier. Marvel haven't really had a miss since Thor: Dark World, and so best not start right now while you're on the street.
Yeah.
Right.
And movies are just not starting back and popping and stuff.
With Shang-Chi, they started off this phase strong, so I'd like to see them continue. I'd like to see them continue with it because even the Disney Plus series, none of them have really fallen short either. So hopefully, with these pushbacks, they're prioritizing that quality over quantity.
Right, and that definitely could be it. Like at this point, they have a reputation to uphold from all of the movies that we've gotten. So for them to drop the ball, especially with the movies, because Ace and Mcmillian, we talked about this before. There are a lot of movies in Phase 4 that we are anticipating to be really good, and it would be a shame if they drop the ball because they're trying to rush and get stuff out.
Yep.
So the last thing on this I want to talk about is the fact that the release date for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 did not change. And does this mean that the story that they're playing for Guardians of the Galaxy isn't going to fit into this multiverse stuff? Is it not going to connect?
Well, that's interesting because if I'm not mistaken, Thor is supposed to be in the third one, right?
Well, they haven't confirmed.
They haven't confirmed that.
They haven't confirmed it, but
based on the
when you brought that up, I think there was a rumor or so that he was going to be in the movie.
I mean, if you base it off, I was about to say if you base it off the end of Endgame, he was with them, and he had left Asgard, the village, to Valkyrie. So I just, but Love and Thunder, is Love and Thunder coming before or after?
It's after. So that's what I was about to bring up too.
After.
So that's
that
why I was like, maybe.
well before I take that
Oh,
back.
it's
What I was
before.
about
Okay.
to what I was about to
Hmm.
say is that Love and Thunder comes first, and the story for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is supposed to take place after Thor, Love and Thunder.
Okay, so maybe he's not. So maybe he's not involved with them anymore.
Yeah, depending on whatever happens in Love and
Or
Thunder,
maybe it might be like a side
determine.
story type of thing. Because my thing is that the first two Guardians of the Galaxy, they didn't play into the whole Infinity Saga until the end.
Well, they were the first one was more in regards to the Infinity Saga was at least used to introduce the concept of the Infinity Stones, I believe, like to actually give them a name. And then,
but I guess
you're not wrong. They didn't really impact everything until the end of the second movie was when they what was the end of the second? Well, they kind of got more in depth to like basically who Peter Quill was and all the things that would like be related to in regards to Endgame and stuff like that. So
I guess that's what I meant. Like if something happened with, say, like a Captain America movie that they had to push back, they wouldn't have to push back any of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies because it had nothing to do with what Steve Rogers and them on Earth had going on. I guess that's what I'm getting at. And this may just be the same thing with Volume 3, which is why they didn't see a need for it to get pushed back.
That's possible. I don't doubt that.
I agree.
Okay.
I guess the only question is then what in 3 is supposed to happen, I guess, other than them getting Gamora back or something like that.
Gamora? I was about to say Gamora's coming back with the
It's going to be the 2014 Gamora.
The 2014 Gamora?
You remember at the end of Endgame, they got another Gamora from 2014.
They didn't send her back?
I don't think so.
They didn't send her back.
I guess not.
Is that not? Well, with that being said, that may be another ripple in the multiverse right there.
I was
that
just going to say
repercussions.
I was like, that's the first ripple. We talking about the Loki show. They didn't even take Gamora back.
Well, maybe. I mean, it's possible that they probably took her back, but I just feel like based on Peter Quill's character,
I highly doubt that
if they did not take that girl back, it gotta be some repercussions because of that.
That's what I'm saying. I highly doubt Gamora was like, okay, yeah, Steve Rogers, take me back to where I belong. I highly doubt. She was like, okay, Captain America, I'm ready to go back.
Hey, if they pull that one out, man.
But that's a good point.
I'm not saying it don't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make some sense because the multiverse has already been confirmed, so it would make sense on that end. But man,
they can't bring Tony Stark back.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
They can't
so the next thing I want to talk
Stark
about,
back, though.
He's not coming back.
Let that man alone.
He snapped his fingers and he gone.
You're not gonna do the same thing you doing with Rengoku to Tony Stark. I won't allow it.
Man, they bring out an Iron Man series and it's just Endgame split into pieces.
And it's just Endgame split into pieces.
Jay, only because you want to attack me, put me on your show. We're gonna talk about Rengoku. Put me on your podcast.
Don't worry.
You're dismissed.
We gonna hash it out.
This is Foop's show.
Okay.
This is Foop's show. You're dismissed.
Oh man.
Oh man. Oh man. But the next thing I want to talk about is Spider-Man No Way From Home. So Empire Magazine released a cover, and it's been confirmed that Sandman and Lizard are going to be in this movie. Before you get into it, Ace, I'm finna expose that we have another op. Episode 2, when we was talking about the end credit scene, Ryun said that they might put Sandman in the movie. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. He don't remember.
Yeah, I remember.
But I remember. I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I caught you red-handed.
You definitely said
ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
In 1080p.
Alex, we work with the same manager. You better defend me.
But
we get the same sponsorship checks.
I just want to say, Ryan called it that the cover of Empire Magazine teases Sandman, and there's a mention of Lizard. So now And it's the original actors from the Amazing Spider-Man and the guy who plays Sandman in Spider-Man 3. So this makes 5 confirmed villains, and we still don't know what they're gonna do with Venom.
This
So-
just goes back to my previous point. I really hope they know what they're doing.
And
with
I
this
wanted to
movie,
bring that
man.
up because we talked about how this
That's
movie
word.
could get convoluted real fast. And
I really hope.
Sidebar. Hey, Ace and Ryan, tell me now, do the X-Men appear? I just need to know. I just need to know. They throwing all this shit in here.
waiting.
Are they coming?
I am waiting for them to
Look, 'cause
integrate
we
the
need to
X-Men into the
know.
Marvel universe. I ain't even gonna lie
because
to you. I'm so
we
ready.
need to know.
I need to know specifically. I just
Look,
But
This
I
movie
don't.
gotta be 3 hours
Nightcrawler
long.
might pop in there.
got to.
Nightcrawler might pop in there.
appreciate it. I'll take it.
Don't let that
Man,
actually happen.
I wanted to bring this up because we were already concerned about Spider-Man No Way From Home because they had confirmed 3 villains and 2 Spider-Mans and possibly a Venom. So now we're up to 5 confirmed villains, still 2 Spider-Man. Well, 3 if you want to count Tom Holland.
Wait,
Yeah, possibly.
walk
We
me
don't know
through it
yet.
again, Portia, for the 5 villains. Is that including Venom, Doc Ock,
That's
Green
Doc
Goblin?
Ock, Green Goblin, Electro, which was
Yeah,
Jamie
you're right.
Foxx's character from The Amazing Spider-Man. Now we have Sandman, and now we have Lizard.
From Thou Who Should Not Be Named.
From Dow. So
These
I
fights gonna be
just-
like 5 minutes long. Like each villain
Like-
might only get like 5 minutes of screen time.
If
Come
I
on,
want to
now.
go back.
3
I want
hours,
to go
yeah.
back.
The movie
the movie has to
at
be
least
long.
2. Man,
It can't be
So
short.
they're saying that this Spider-Man movie is gonna be like a Spider-Man Endgame type movie, with this being the last movie in the Spider-Man trilogy. It's like giving a Spider-Man not Homecoming, Endgame type feel. And I want to go back to my point that these might just be selling points. Like all 5 of these villains may not have a big role in the story. We just might catch something here and there.
You know what? That's a good point because honestly, if let's say we got no trailers and I just got a still image shot of Tom Holland fighting Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2, I would have bought a ticket to this movie.
Yeah.
No cap. So I definitely think that these definitely could be selling points because like Ryan pointed out, these these villain fights, if they are fights, if they don't make it a certain length, they're gonna be 5.
And most 5
minutes,
minutes
maybe.
long each, bro.
Yeah.
Like they can't
Yeah.
integrate
Gotta be.
an elaborate fight with every single villain and then stick to the plot and the story. Unless
'Cause
it's
this
gonna be like
was-
a Lord of the Rings 3-hour movie.
What's
Well,
really
they
wild?
already showed.
I mean-
they already. You can go ahead, Mcmillian.
Okay, all I was about to say is what's really wild, and what also, like, in my opinion, makes this totally unbalanced. If there are more Spider-Man coming, you already got the Marvel Cinematic Universe Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. And as we saw in Endgame, Doctor Strange is probably, like, besides Captain Marvel and Wanda, the most powerful Marvel character that we got right now. And I just feel like this is y'all raising the bar really high.
Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe that's why they need all these villains, because they're like, crap, we too stacked on one side or something like that. But I don't know.
I don't know.
Man.
It could be. What I wanted to say is that the only confirmed villain fight that we've gotten is Doc Ock, because a
Mhm.
picture came out where he basically just face grabbed Tom Holland. So we already know that's a confirmed
Tommy
fight.
Maguire would never.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say is that with this being what we're considering a hat tip into the multiverse, is that they could just be showing glimpse of different Spider-Man villains in different universes, and Sandman and Lizard could just be one of those glimpses into the other Spider-Man universe. So we may not get an actual fight. We may just see that here are these other villains in these other universes, and Doc Ock just may have been the one to cross over and made it in. And Green Goblin too.
Yeah, that's a interesting take as well. As time keeps going on, this movie just keeps getting more and more convoluted, and I just really hope that Marvel
They do
the
well
first
with
two Spider-Man movies been good. So I just really hope they hit a home run with this movie and they don't mess it up. They don't mess it up. And like Spider-Man 3, the way it's going, has potential to be one of the best Marvel movies if they do it right.
That's
But
true.
if they do it wrong, then we could be looking at
gonna
another
say,
Thor 2 situation here.
There's a lot riding on it.
Ace,
Yeah.
I just imagine the circle from Super Smash Bros. Popping up and hearing the orchestra's theme song coming on in the
Hey,
background.
Doc Ock show up and all you hear is da 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 da.
Smash Brothers Ultimate. Like, I don't know. I'm excited to see it. Everybody loves Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man myself, but it's like this got to be a 3-hour movie, right? This can't be less than
Close
two
to
and a
it.
Yeah,
half,
close
right?
to it.
Yeah.
But I will
Can't be
say,
less.
all of the movies that have been coming out in Phase 4 have been over like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
this could easily touch 3 hours.
2.5 hours minimum.
Minimum.
But because
Like,
they've all been touching that 2.5 hour mark.
Because even if each villain gets like 5 minutes to themselves, 25, you got all the different Spider-Mans. They got to talk, converse, tell weird jokes, and like, come on now, that's an hour content right there
Yeah.
before you
I
even get to
mean,
the main story.
From the lookers, I still would have to agree with Portia's side that maybe the Sandmans and the other guys are just more the let's take a glimpse into what these villains are in the other future. I think the main focus or the main villain probably will be the Doc Ock and the Green Goblin, just because they're more the the staple Spider-Man villains. So we're probably gonna have a bigger focus on them too than the others. So
The other
I would
thing
have
I
to
want
agree
to
with
bring
her on
up,
that.
if with this being the last Spider-Man movie in the trilogy, it's only so much they can do because it has to end. You can't leave this with a cliffhanger. You can't introduce all of these villains and leave with a cliffhanger. Like, what do we do now? Because it's not shit to do. This is the last movie.
And,
Well, also speaking on that, who's to say that we might not get another Spider-Man solo after this? Because I mean, Thor is going to be the first confirmed, for a solo movie for a Marvel hero, so they might be, planning one for Spider-Man as well.
so what are the theories? Like, even if this is the last Spider-Man movie, he's still going to be very prevalent in the MCU.
Well,
correct?
I think Sony. If Sony gets their way, they're going to integrate him into their Spider-Verse. So
correct.
They might continue the story going that way. So
yeah,
it seems like it's a lot riding on this movie all around.
It is. It really is. It is.
I just don't want them to drop the
because
ball.
all of the eggs in the basket. The fact that Doctor Strange is in the movie, and then the next movie that comes after this is Doctor Strange 2.
Yeah, it's
a direct continuation. Well. A direct continuation, essentially.
Yep.
Yeah, essentially. So I mean,
and everything rides on the last movie of the year. You know what I'm saying?
That too.
Just speaking in general, like, I would hate that the last movie we see in 2021 was, as Ryan would put it, trash boo boo garbage.
Trash boo boo garbage.
So
I mean, I just at this point I can't do nothing but just put my faith in Marvel at this point.
And that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do in episode 2. And Ace was like, no. Now you got no choice. Now we have no choice.
I ain't got no choice now, man.
But not the last thing. The third thing I wanted to talk about is the War World Hulk movie. And this is pretty interesting. This is solely a rumor that Marvel is developing a World War Hulk movie that is going into production into 2022. This will be the MCU's Hulk, Mark Ruffalo, his first solo film. And the reason that the rumor is getting stirred up is because it's a possibility that the She-Hulk Disney Plus show is going to lead up to this. Because Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is confirmed for the series. Tim Roth, Abomination, is confirmed for the series. And it was something
who played
about
them in the.
Yep. That's
Oh,
who
okay.
played him
So it's
in
the same.
2008's Hulk.
Wow.
Got it. All right. Interesting.
And there's a
Okay.
possibility that there are going to be other multiple Hulks showing up as well. So the storyline for War World Hulk, and I want to read this. It takes place after Planet Hulk, and Planet Hulk is one of my favorite Marvel comic book storylines. So this is to give a brief synopsis of Planet Hulk. Marvel has their own Illuminati group, which is made up of Tony Stark, Reed Richards, Doctor Strange, and some other guy. And they just got fed up with Hulk, and they sent him off world. They knocked him out and sent him off world. Hulk ends up waking up in the spaceship. He cuts up, changes the trajectory of the spaceship, and ends up on Sakaar. And if you don't remember Sakaar is the planet that they were on Thor Ragnarok. So Thor Ragnarok is loosely based off of Planet Hulk.
Hulk, yeah. They kind of mixed two stories together, kind of, basically.
Right. So they still do the gladiator thing. Like Hulk is forced to fight in this gladiator style arena, but he overcomes their king, and he becomes king of the planet. He gets him a little wife. He gets him some friends, and they all accept him being the big brutal Hulk that he wants to be. Fast forwarding, the spaceship that he landed on the planet with blows up, kills everybody. Well, kills majority of the planet, kills his wife, and now he's pissed because he thinks that the guys back on Earth set up his spaceship to self-destruct. So then he goes back to Earth for revenge, and World War Hulk is him getting revenge, and he lets him have it.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that's like
okay,
the first, well, not the first, but like one of the major appearances of World Breaker Hulk, which is I don't know how the Earth survived, but yeah,
right. But he lets them have it. They had to pull out these stops for this man. They had to pull out the stops for him.
You know how angry he had to be traveling through space and saying, "I'm gonna kill these MFers." I'm sitting here looking at the stars and the galaxy. I'm passing the Milky Way, and I'm finna come kill these MFers.
Oh, he had a one-track mind.
Yeah,
he
like, you know how angry?
universe.
Like that ain't happened in a day.
He had a one-track mind.
Like,
so the discussions that I want to get into this, if this rumor is true, and MCU is making this War World Hulk movie, the storyline is pretty dark, and as we know, the MCU likes to stay on the family-friendly, lighthearted side of the spectrum.
Yeah, get as many people to see it as they can.
And if they do this storyline is going to they're going to have to tone it down. If they are going to want to do World War Hulk, they're going to have to turn it down because they had to pull out the stops. He made Reed Richards, Iron Man, and Doctor Strange fight against each other. He broke Doctor Strange's arms. Like, they had to bring out Hulkbuster for this man. So, the other thing is that with toning it down, they're going to have to change some plot points because some of Planet Hulk is in Thor Ragnarok. So they're going to have to tie that in to what happened in Thor Ragnarok as well. So they're going to have to change some plot lines. My other concern... What's up?
I was going to say, we also have to figure out, I guess, the relationship between Bruce and Hulk now, because a lot has changed since Endgame, if you paid attention to the end of like the Shang-Chi after credits. But I guess over the span, of the movies that we already know about, when we get there, we'll probably see what the new Hulk or their relationship will be like. But that's one big thing that's going to be contingent on those movies if they decide to do it.
Yep. And what would be the thing that sets him off? Because now he's back on Earth. He's not on Sakaar anymore. What would set him off to do a World War Hulk type thing? My other concern is, where would this fall into the multiverse stuff? Or is this going to be some standalone type movie, like how they did Black Widow, in a sense?
I would, at least depending on, at the time that the movie is coming out, I would have to imagine that it wouldn't be standalone. especially considering how you said that part of Hulk world was in Thor Ragnarok. I would have to imagine that this takes place somewhere in the multiverse.
They would have to change
Possibly.
a lot of plot points to make it fit in, because the big thing, I already said this, but what would set him off? What would happen in Phase 4 that would set him off to kick off this big event?
Yeah, because the interesting thing is, we're out of the people that Portia mentioned up from the Illuminati group, Iron Man is dead, and
we haven't even seen
Richards
Fantastic Four yet.
Yeah, they're supposed to introduce them somehow, some way this phase, and we don't know how that's all going to shake up.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see how they pull it off, because I would also like to know what exactly sets them off on Earth, or what. I would hope they just don't be like, oh, here's another planet that we sent them off to, and the exact same things happen.
Yeah. And his arm is broken, so like
it could.
The other thing is that his physical
his physical form has been
composition
injured too, so.
is injured. So
yeah, we'll just have to see, I guess.
But what were you about to say, Ace?
I'm just spitballing here now, but it could, like, maybe a catalyst, probably in some way, could possibly potential have to do with something in the Eternals, just for the fact that we mentioned that Thor was a deviant, and maybe he finds out that the Eternals could have did something maybe to stop that from even happening. Like, they could have stopped that Thor from going on this whole rampage. Not Thor, Thanos from going on this whole rampage, and I didn't have to lose Black Widow or something like that. I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
Listen,
I'm just spitballing.
If they
Alex did what he did. Yeah.
No. Listen.
He's taking advantage of that sponsorship money. He definitely did what y'all told him to do.
If they kick off World War Hulk because of Natasha,
I don't.
That'd be interesting.
Once you said that World War Hulk was because of his revenge,
it would be interesting. But is how they're going to play on it. Because if he hasn't rampaged by now, it has to be something. If it's going to connect to Natasha, it has to be something, because
it got to be something. That's the only thing I can think of that would set him off at this point. I just can't think of nothing else that would piss off Bruce or the Hulk at this point. I just don't know.
I mean, he was upset when he found out he died. He swung a bench, but it could be that it gets to him. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe, and this is me pulling something out my ass, the same way that they're manipulating old girl, her sister.
Wanda.
I can't remember her name. But
hold on, she right there. I know who you're talking about. But yeah,
Black Widow's sister, the same way they're manipulating her to make it seem like that it was Hawkeye's fault that her sister died. They may F around. Bruce wasn't there. They may F around and tell him some cock and bull story, and he might just set it off. And the other thing that I wanted to ask is, do we even need a solo Hulk film at this point? And I'm going to say no. And if they were to give a solo Hulk film, I would rather it be Edward Norton's Hulk that does World War Hulk instead of Mark Ruffalo's. I'm for real. Because when I watched the 2008 Hulk, the 2008 Hulk was... I love
that
it.
Still goes hard as a quality movie.
And then
like, that is
you
still
see Mark
the
Ruffalo's
Hulk,
and he's just like, he's plushy. He's plushy to me.
The 2008 movie go hard as a Hulk movie.
You talking about like Hulk himself or Bruce? I'm
Hulk
himself.
Edward Norton's Hulk versus Mark Ruffalo's Hulk.
Okay, because I was just trying to say like whose portrayal of like I thought you meant like the whole package of like Bruce plus Hulk. Okay, I think
they both. I think they both do good as Bruce, but the physique of Hulk in 2008 versus what Mark Ruffalo did. Mark Ruffalo just looks plushy.
2008
they
Hulk
tried to
like
make him look like big and tough in Thor Ragnarok, but like when you first look at him, he seems plushy.
No, that's a good that is a good summarization, because I didn't even I don't think about it, but when I think of comic Hulk, I feel like he's a threat. When I think of movie Hulk, it doesn't come off.
He's very family friendly.
Yeah.
He like a
this could be
giant
their
teddy bear.
way.
But
He
2008
is
Hulk,
Lotso. He is the Lotso hugging bear from Toy Story
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Lotso hugging Hulk.
and to Portia's point, when you watch that 2008 Hulk, he scares people. Like the military, like shaking their boots looking at that man. You know what I'm saying? This
Right.
Hulk, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm probably more scared of Thor than this guy. Like,
Yeah. I mean, well, on that note, this could be their way of trying to redeem their MCU Hulk. You know what I mean? Make him a little bit more threatening, more of that, 2008 type of Hulk.
Hopefully, but I'd have to wait and see.
That's a good point.
Because I haven't seen that many movies with Mark Ruffalo in it, but I don't know if he's ever played a character that's supposed to be like somewhat like.
The
Makes you
only other
scared
movie
of
I've
what they
seen
could
Mark
do.
Ruffalo in is in the Now You See Me movies, and
Yeah.
he wasn't.
he didn't play a villain. Like he didn't.
Yeah,
seem
he didn't play a villain, so-
Intimidating.
Well,
me.
so I guess we'll have to see. Maybe maybe Ace is right. Yeah, we just have to wait and see.
Well, if they're going for the fact that they're going to make him more brutal, I'm all for it. Like,
I mean, if as you said before, if World War Hulk has this dark storyline, then it has to transfer over in some type of way.
mm-hmm.
So I would just imagine that we'll actually see the more, because now that you mentioned that, we just never really got to see Hulk just pop off.
Yep.
Like the one time we thought he was actually going to pop off, and that was the fight against Thanos. He got whooped.
Yeah.
And we know
the
how
other
that went. The
time-
man got whooped.
And the other time he's gone berserk is he went on a rampage, but it wasn't at his own will. It was because in Age of Ultron, Wanda messed with his brain, and he popped off then. But World War Hulk is him just popping off on his own, and we have yet to see him like really like show his strength from his own will.
Yeah.
I would kind of buy into what Ace said about how he could be upset about finding out about the Eternals, and how this kind of came out of nowhere. So he might be kind of like, where were you guys when everything was going on? Throughout the entire debacle of all of that. I could be able to buy into that.
Listen, if it's that, this finna turn into Hulk Shippuden, and I'm just finna call him Obito. You set off this whole war for this one lady.
I think Ralph getting that Ops sponsorship.
This finna be called. Don't call it World War Hulk. Call it Hulk Shippuden. At this point,
Shippuden.
That'd be an interesting reason. It's just that I don't think that would be, because those movies are. We just now finding out that World War Hulk might even go into production.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just spitballing there.
That's such a far one.
I'm reaching hella hard.
Yeah,
but I just can't think of nothing else.
I guess my thing would be, out of all the things to be upset about, because these Eternals have been here for years, and all of the things to set off World War Hulk. This is everything that they've been through, and just watch. This is where Natasha's death is on the scale of everything they watched. And this is what sets off World War Hulk. That's where I'm coming from.
If you look at most wars and most tragedies, the one thing that can lead a man to anger is a lover. Yeah. Women can be the catalyst for a man's switch up. That's in history.
What was that one Roman war that was fought over a woman? I can't remember right now.
Whatever the movie 300 is based off of.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Because it was Troy.
We did study about that.
I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what the whole war is called, but I know one of them is the Battle of Troy.
But that is a common trope, though. Like, that is a common trope. If you want to make a man angry, attack his chick.
Well, I'll give it to him. I will give him this because in the original World War Hulk storyline, he did lose other citizens, but the thing that really like pissed him off was the fact that he lost his wife.
Yeah,
and if we want to use Natasha as a strong love interest, because I felt like that whole debacle was weird. They touched on it for one movie. He disappears. He comes back. They're still didn't get anything. Sure, if you want to set it off for Natasha, even though we didn't even get that type of like romantic connection to even feel for you in that type of way.
Yeah.
I mean, well, also it could be whatever happens in She-Hulk as well. Since you mentioned that he's confirmed to be in the She-Hulk series.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's his cousin.
So
yeah, that's his cousin.
I mean, I know that's his cousin, but I'm saying, but if
No, I mean, I'm saying like it plays into it. It's a family member.
yeah, and it also depends on if She-Hulk comes about because of some experiments in this world, or is she coming in because of the multiverse?
Well,
So-
in the original storyline, she got a blood transfusion from Bruce Banner. And I don't know why the fuck he decided to do that anyway, but he gave his cousin a blood transfusion, and then she turned into She-Hulk. And
Correct.
I would sue.
So
I'm
yeah,
gonna be honest with you. Like, you know, I don't know the full story, but if he gave me a blood transfusion and I didn't know he was Hulk, I'm suing. But if I knew he was Hulk in my last, like, this is the absolute last option that you got to give me a blood transfusion. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, it also, it depends on how they bring in She-Hulk as well.
Yeah.
That's and how that whole series is gonna go about too.
Plays out. Yeah.
So they may be changing some plot points just because of that. Like, it's probably gonna be, this could be another story that's loosely based off of what happens in World War Hulk. They could just be pulling pieces from it and putting it in the story.
Mm-hmm.
But all of it is pretty interesting. I'm interested to see how they go for it. So the last thing that I want to bring up, so we're going to move away from Marvel and we're going to go into DC. And this is Micheal B. Jordan's Superman project. So Micheal B. Jordan is producing a Superman-related series, and the show has found 2 writers for HBO Max. It focuses on a character named Val-Zod, which is...
Oh, is that confirmed?
Yes.
Okay, because I heard people talking about it before, and they weren't actually concerned if they were doing Earth 2 or not.
It's confirmed that it's Earth 2. Val-Zod. Right. He's a black Kryptonian. And he ends up on Earth, same type of deal. But he becomes Superman on a Earth where the Clark Kent Superman is dead.
Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff
went down.
Then Earth 2.
And eventually he gets pitted against a brainwashed Clark Kent Superman. So it's not confirmed if Micheal B. Jordan will be in the series or not. He's just an executive producer at the moment. And this is part of the Outlier Society production, who is supposed to also be responsible for the live action Static Shock project. Mm-hmm. So
are they still was that? I'm sorry to just go off topic real quick, but was that Static Shock project canceled, or are they still doing it?
They're still doing it.
It's in the works.
Based on what they talked about at DC Fandom, it's in the works.
Well, that's good.
They have a live action series coming. Just to touch on briefly, they have a live action Static Shock series coming. They're relaunching the animated stuff based on the new comic, and they're doing a whole milestone animated universe stuff, which is pretty exciting. But yeah, that's about for the Static stuff.
Well, before we start, this is the Blerd mob, Black Nerd, so let's celebrate the Black excellence. Shout out to Micheal B. Jordan for pushing his career forward as a Black creative. Shout out to him for that. I don't know nothing about Val-Zod. Can y'all please tell me what that is? Like, what should we?
I don't know much about.
I wanted to give him his flowers first, though.
This is the discussion that I wanted to get into because I did not know that they were actually serious about this. So it was like a year or so ago that it was announced that Micheal B. Jordan was interested in doing a Superman, playing Superman or doing a Superman-like show. And the big uproar was, why are we turning Superman black? Why are we rebooting characters and turning them black? Mm-hmm. And why weren't we focusing on Black heroes that are currently established in the DC universe?
Still agree with that.
I was against it because of that reason. Like, why are we rebooting Superman and making him black?
Exactly.
And the arguments were, this is a Superman from another Earth, which Val-Zod is. But I was like, okay, what if that's the excuse that you want to give it? But
I kind of feel like that's
so many other.
In a way,
it's a cop out because I'm tired of them rebooting Superman. I am. Like, there's so many other. We've increased in the amount of Black DC superheroes who have seen live action because we've gotten the Black Lightning show. Batwoman the Batwoman live action show has introduced Batwing. DC's Legends of Tomorrow has put Vixen in it, and even the Flash has used the black version of Wally West into it. We've gotten some of the villains like Black Tiger, who was in Arrow, as well as Guardian. He's not a villain, he was a hero, but Guardian was also in Arrow. We can go Suicide Squad. Deadshot. Being in Suicide Squad.
Just make
Bloodsport.
Michael B. Jordan the actual Green Lantern that we all
But-
want. And let's go that
Oh,
route. I would love
and I was
that.
going to touch on that. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was like, he could easily, because
we're
every
supposed
time
to be
we
getting
see,
a core movie too. So
for Jon Stewart's Green Lantern.
We're supposed to be getting a Green Lantern core movie. Supposedly, Jon Stewart would be the main character of it, but I'm not sure.
It's gonna be Hal Jordan.
Put my boy Michael as the Green Lantern. Now that's something.
It's gonna be Hal Jordan.
I'd love to see.
It's gonna be Hal Jordan. They always. I hate him, but it's gonna be Hal Jordan. But I feel like, and I agree with Ryan, that they could have easily brought Jon Stewart's Green Lantern to the big screen. And because we're celebrating Black excellence with Jon Stewart being a Black Green Lantern, and if you remember from the Justice League show, he did a lot of stuff in his community. He was somebody to look up to in his community, and then on top of him being Green Lantern, that's a lot. That's a big impact, and I think it could deliver the same type of impact that Black Lightning did.
Not only that, but the Lantern Corps has actually gotten some recently new great additions. There's a teen Green Lantern who's a Black girl who hacks like a lantern ring to make it work for her. Pretty interesting story. And then we have a Black female Green Lantern that's currently my new favorite of the Green Lantern characters, because I'm not even that big fan, but she got me reinterested into their whole mythos. So that actually would have been an interesting show or movie if they decided to have gone forward and done that. But since I guess no one knows who Val-Zod is except me on the panel, I'll just give a brief thing. He's a Kryptonian. In Earth 2, more than just Clark survived the destruction of Krypton. Val came second after him and was trapped, basically used for research and stuff like that. And when Darkseid invaded Earth, he was released from his like stasis and was like, I have to fix this, basically. Basically just trying to pick up the pieces of like what was left off. Like a lot of bad things happened. Like we lost Batman. Catwoman was a hero, I think, in Earth 2. She died.
Lois Lane died.
Yeah, Lois Lane dies. Robin, who was a girl, gets sent off to regular Earth, and there's stuff about that. But if they might explain it in the series, so I won't touch on it. Supergirl, I think, is also leaves. Or yeah, she gets sent away as well. Like it's a whole. Earth 2 is basically what would happen if Earth 1 just went to shit. Val-Zod is basically like seen as the pinnacle last hope for humanity. Almost. I mean, there are other heroes still working with him and other things like that. Like I think there's the Green Lantern of Earth 2 is different from the Green Lanterns of Earth 1 in the fact that he is a guardian of Earth. He is the guardian of the green, the way his rank works and stuff like that. So if they decide with this the Val-Zod show, if they're doing it based on the Earth 2 comic, they actually have a lot of interesting plot lines they can pull from. Besides that, so he is his own character. You don't have to worry about that. But to Ralph's point, it is somewhat of kind of a cop-out because they could have focused on a main hero within DC who was Black if they wanted to do a Black hero story.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, do we really need another Superman reboot? I understand he's Black. I understand his name's not Clark Kent. I understand he has a different storyline. But how many times are we going to reboot Superman?
No, honestly. I mean, that's a fair question. Because in my opinion, Henry Cavill did a great job, I think, as with what they gave him as Clark Kent. Was it the best written Clark Kent ever? No, but that's more on DC's fault than it is the actors.
To be honest, Superman is probably the most boring hero in DC.
He can be. I mean, it depends on who's writing him. Because the thing is, most people are like, he's basically a god, so let's just, I don't know, give him like a lot of action stuff.
Yeah.
The most interesting stories to me are when he's actually like morally, when stuff challenges him morally, because that's probably the most interesting thing about Superman is that he is a very morally sound character. So what happens when you put stuff in front of him that he has to somewhat either bend his rules or break them to solve?
I guess
Because the physical stuff isn't what's interesting about Superman, because
that is
he
true.
can win any fight.
Yeah, if he really like put his Boy Scout principles to the side and really like let loose.
Mhm.
But the other thing I wanted to bring up, if they move forward with this, is that I don't want it to turn into like a race thing. Like, what does it? So, like, you know how they explored in Falcon and the Winter Soldier of Sam becoming Captain America. What did it mean for a black man to be Captain America?
Mhm.
I would rather, sure, it's a concept that you can touch on, but I would rather not the series be focused on that. Like,
I
No.
think it'd be hard to do considering that this is a different Superman altogether.
but
Like I would hope.
it is a Superman altogether, but we know that live actions shows change plot lines and they readapt things. So
Mhm.
depending on how they do it, I don't want it to be where he's trying to fill in like this past, because as we already said, he's on a Earth where Clark Kent Superman is dead. So I don't want them to do it to where he's trying to live up to this white guy in tights
Yeah.
the whole season.
Yeah.
Like don't
I
make
agree.
it a race thing. Like we're coming to watch like a nice comic
Right.
book related plot. Like keep it that.
Right. That's what I would like to see. Like, sure, you can touch on the fact that he is a black Superman, and that means a lot depending on how you look at it. But I don't want the series to be focused, because what I've learned about Val Zod in the comic storyline, there's so much that they can play on instead of Black Superman.
Black Superman, yeah. No, and I actually that's why I was like, I hope when you confirmed it was Valzad, I actually was like, oh, cool, this might be an interesting series based on what I know of Earth 2's universe more so
Right.
than just the concept of he's Superman but he's black, because that's not a
And
story,
that's what
that's
I
not a
thought it
character.
was. When they first announced that Michael B. Jordan was interested in doing a Superman type project, I was like, okay, Clark Kent's about to be black. Michael B. Jordan is really gonna put on the Superman suit and act like he's a black Clark Kent, like, you know. And that's where I was
He's
coming
gonna
from.
grow
Like,
some
there's so
dreadlocks
many,
and let one hang over or something instead
and
of a little
now
curl.
and that's where I was saying, like, there's so many other black heroes, but the fact that Val Zod, has a comic book storyline, he is Superman, but he has more to it. Now I am more comfortable with them moving on with the project than I was before.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It's I don't really know much about the DC side of things, but just hearing this whole Michael B. Jordan situation, I would have to agree with y'all. I will hope they wouldn't do the race thing. And from listening to what Mcmillian said, it seems like they have enough, lore and information to not go that direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just hope they, don't go that other direction and just go the direction of tell what was his name? Valdez?
Valzad.
Valzad, and tell Valzad's story and not some black Superman story.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But surprisingly, we did get through all 4 topics in the time span. So this was good discussion. This was so.
Ralph, how was your experience on the Blerd mob?
Shouldn't that be an after?
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Oh.
He
Well,
just
now that he
just
just said it
smiled.
now, I
We'll
guess I
ask
might
him.
as
Well,
well
I
talk.
mean, you didn't ask them now,
Right,
so
so
Go ahead.
No, yeah, you
Go
like
ahead.
it. The audience wants to know.
my
nah,
experience
you
was
want to know
good.
because you nosy.
Right, my experience was good. I feel like I've learned a lot just from listening to you guys about the previous podcast I've listened to, and being a part of it is definitely fun. to be able to, communicate with you guys about the things that you guys like. And it educates me a lot more because I didn't really grow into being a super duper Marvel fan or even a DC fan like you guys. I know PJ and Mcmillian read comic books for days, and I can literally just sit down and listen to PJ just talk forever about comics. So I really enjoy it. I am excited for the Eternals movie and everything that come out of that. I just don't want them to mess it up and it become a soap opera. That's it.
Hey, we'll find out and see. We will find out and see.
I have
Next time.
I have a little tidbit or maybe a hint of how everything started.
Well, Ralph got a theory.
So
Now he came onto the podcast and got a theory.
So the a little bird told me that everything started based on Tony Stark's doing of him snapping his fingers.
Yeah, that's what they said in the trailer.
Yeah.
When everybody came back, the universe did some
kind of
cool thing.
emergence thing.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently they were pissed about that. Like super.
Who's they?
The Celestials?
Yeah.
The Celestials?
Yeah. Because
I already told y'all.
yeah.
Okay, TVA.
What did Drake say? It's getting real oppy outside.
Oh God.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like everybody payroll, little birdies and whatnot. Ain't nobody telling me shit.
Me and Folk the only one who read the comics. How we not getting
I
contact?
know nobody's payroll.
I'm saying. Alex watching movies
Listen.
and he know about Venom. Ryan is Ryan and he out here teasing Sandman. And then Ralph come in on the first episode he been on talking about a little birdie told me. Like, what the fuck?
Look, you know, Alex man hit me up one night and said, "You want a sponsorship?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it."
And see, now I got beef with Ace because why you call him Ryan? Out of everybody on the panel, you call Ryan?
Shadow marketing. Shadow marketing. I'm the last one they would expect.
I'm done.
Well, we expect you now, so
right.
You on my radar.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, me personally, I just feel like the Celestials, they're gonna play a bigger role after this movie inside the MCU.
Yeah.
So
this is a lot. At this point, I just want to see the movie because it's a lot.
you just want to see the movie.
It's a lot.
It's gonna be a lot of information packed in the 2 hours and 30 minutes.
I didn't want to give my full theory. I just, the Celestials.
I just wanted to give a little tidbit. Just, drop something in the
Not a
water.
tidbit.
We'll see.
We'll see. But nobody had anything else. I just want to thank all four of you guys for joining the podcast today, and for those listening, make sure you follow us on social media. So we've changed our Instagram name. We are the Blerd Mob Pod now. That's at TheBlerdMobPod. We're still the Blerd Mob on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. You can find us by the same name. Oh, yeah, or you could do that too. You could do that too. But other than that, appreciate you guys for being here. And this is the mob checking out. Peace.
Night, everybody.
See you.
Hands up if you loving where you at, stand 10 toes down, shot ain't no looking mad. You can let them haters hate when they answer while I'm smiling, I just tell them life's great.